A little bit of history, just a little bit more. So we know that after independence, each state adopted some version of English law. And some, but not all states, adopted the prohibitions against Champerty. Okay. So there are actually 31 states that have either abolished the doctrines of Champerty and maintenance, which means that's no longer a prohibition, or they never adopted them in the first place because they got to do what they wanted when they were adopted common law from the UK, right? So what are these 31 states? Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Florida. They're supplanted because there's a statutory framework that was set up instead of Champerty maintenance. Hawaii, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Missouri, Montana, Minnesota, Nebraska, Nevada, New Jersey, New Hampshire, North Dakota, North Carolina, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Washington, and West Virginia. Okay, but be careful. Just because Champerty and maintenance no longer exist or never existed there doesn't mean litigation finance is automatically allowed. On the cut, and conversely, just because Champerty and maintenance are still on the books as prohibitions doesn't mean litigation finance is similarly prohibited, which takes us back to Lord Jackson's speech, which is why I included it. Those two things can coexist. And we're going to talk a little bit about how states have made those two coexist. But then there are states where there are Champerty prohibitions. They still exist. They still apply, and they actually invalidate litigation finance agreements. And you need to know that if you operate in those states. These are Alabama, Kentucky, Missouri, Mississippi. Okay. There are 5 frameworks to understanding litigation finance within individual U.S. jurisdictions. And these are just the mental models that I came up with to create buckets to better explain how each of these groups of states was handling litigation finance, right? So just think of these as like mental models for you to work through the material and for me to work through the material with you. So first, obviously, states that abolished the doctrine altogether and never adopted it. And we talked about those 31 states. Well, we listed them. We'll talk about them more. There are states that allow litigation finance regardless of Champerty rules. There are states that loosened prohibitions, notably via narrow applications. There are states that reinforced the rules against litigation finance and said, not here. And then there are states that allow litigation finance, but impose mandatory disclosures of the existence of litigation finance in particular cases.